Hello, 你好, and welcome back. 欢迎回来to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on November 8th, 2023. This video is proudly sponsored by Hidden Corner Find. If you are trying to figure out what to buy to gift for Christmas, then why not give them a try? They have all kinds of cool toys and action figures and retro goodies and antique. Um, there's something for everyone, from something that uh, new and fancy to something that might have been something that you remember from your childhood, or your parents' childhood even. So give them a try. The links will be in the description, or you can pause the screen and look at the sign right here. They do combine shipping, and they are proudly owned by Canadian. So yeah, Hidden Corner Find. Now we have all heard this wise advice about be courteous to your servers, to your waiters, waitresses, because you never know what they're going to do to your food. I mean, that makes sense, right? If someone is going to be handling your food, you do not want to mistreat them because you just never know. Uh, yeah, it can be very unpleasant. Uh, I have had friends who worked in that industry. I have friends who were chef before. I have friends who were bartender. I've had friends who were waiters and waitresses. Every one of them can uh, testify to this. If you mess with them, they will mess with your food or your drink, and a lot of times you wouldn't even know what happened, right? So it's a good advice. It's an advice that maybe some of the emperors and generals in Chinese history should have learned from, because unfortunately, there were quite a few cases throughout Chinese history where a very high-ranking, very prominent, heroic, sometimes heroic figure meet their demise at the hand of their own chef. And today we're going to talk about that. So today, if you take one thing away from today's Wisdom Wednesday, the wisdom is do not mess with a chef. Don't mess with the chef. They will get you. Okay? Before we get into it, let's look at a couple of Mandarin vocabularies. Chef, 厨师, 厨师, 厨, CHU is kitchen, something related to cooking. 厨, 师 is master. Okay, so kitchen master, cooking master. 厨师 is chef. 厨房 is kitchen. 厨房, CHUFONG. Chu again means kitchen, some cooking related, food related. Fang means uh, building, structure, house. So 厨房, a house for cooking, kitchen. 厨艺, CHUYE. 厨艺 means the skill of a chef. So 厨艺 means the skill of a 厨师. 厨具, CHU JYE. That's not how it's actually spelled. I'm just trying to make it just so you guys can kind of learn how to pronounce it. 厨具. Uh, you can think of it as CHU JI. 厨具 means utensils, tools used for cooking. So cooking appliances and tools and utensils. 厨具. 具 means tools. So the one operative word, common word shared between these phrases would be 厨, which is again food related, kitchen related. 厨, 厨师, chef. 厨艺, the skill of the chef. 厨具 means the tools the chef uses, and 厨房 is kitchen. Incidentally, some people that are more imaginative are probably thinking, okay, so anything to do with kitchen, you start with 厨. That means kitchen knife would be 厨刀, because 刀 means knife, right? No, actually, that's not the case. That is one of those things that is one of those exceptions, because kitchen knife in Mandarin is actually called 菜刀. Cai means uh, food. Well, cai actually means vegetable. But usually when people talk about cai in the context of a meal, when they say 吃菜, they don't mean eat vegetable. They mean have some food, have some dishes. Help yourself. 吃菜 means get some food. Okay, so 菜刀 it means the knife you use for preparing these dishes or food. So it's not 厨刀. In this case, it's 菜刀. Now let's talk about our stories. Let's have our story time, and I'll tell you about how some of the very important people throughout Chinese history met their doom at the hands of the chef that they pissed off. The first one is he was a hero. Okay, at the end of the Tang Dynasty, there was a general. Many people say that he was the last general of the Tang Dynasty. His name was Hu Zhe. Hu Zhe. So why was Hu Zhe a hero? Because at the end of the Tang Dynasty, even the emperor decided to surrender to the Song Dynasty. But while all the other generals and ministers threw in the hat and put up their hands in surrender, because hey, if the emperor himself is surrendering, obviously we lost the war, so there's no point holding on to our station and guarding our people. We might as well surrender too. Hu Zhe did not agree. Hu Zhe said that's nonsense. We haven't even fought. How do we know that we can't win? So I'm not surrendering. If you guys want to surrender, you guys surrender. I'm a general of His Majesty's army. I'm not going to surrender. So Hu Zhe uh, shut the door of his fortress and his city, pulled up the drawbridge, and him and his army defended their position. Uh, and the opposing army couldn't do anything with them. Like they would besieged uh, for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. The siege just went on and on. But Hu Zhe was stubborn. He was a very good military leader. He was very brave and fearless warrior on the battlefield. And there's nothing that the opposing force could do to take his city. So he became known as the last general of the Tang Dynasty, the last beacon of hope for the Tang people. And maybe he would have succeeded. But, well, you can imagine if you are the last general, if you are the only person fighting this war, your emperors even surrendered, so you're not getting any help from the imperial city. You're not getting any help from anybody. Uh, and you got a whole city of people depending on you. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of stress. So Hu Zhe became kind of sick, both in body and in the head. He became very ill-tempered, and he started coughing and sneezing. He was running a fever. He was achy all over, and he was not feeling good. So he remembered that when you're sick, you're supposed to have fish stew because fish is really good for you. All that protein, stew is good for you in any case when you're sick. And fish stew is just really, really good stuff when you're sick. So he commanded his chef, his personal chef, to make him a pot of fish stew. And the chef did as he was told. He made a pot of fish stew for Hu Zhe. Now, I don't know how many of you have experienced this. Sometimes when you're sick, food don't taste the same, right? Like the recipe is exactly the same recipe. Like you can be going to the same restaurant that you've been going to for the last 20 years, and every time it tastes the same. But because you're sick, your taste buds are not working. So you're going there and you're, oh, I don't know what's wrong with the food. The food is crappy. There's no taste. They taste off. Maybe I'm going to get food poison. Yada yada yada. But it's your own problem. Nothing wrong with the food. It's your taste bud. Well, that happened. So when Hu Zhe uh, tasted the fish stew, he was angry. He was like, "What kind of crap is this? It doesn't have any taste, and the texture is weird. It's not the fish stew that I remember." So he ordered to have the chef brought to his tent, and he yelled at the chef, and he said, "What? You think I'm because I'm the last general of the dynasty? You think that we are fighting a losing battle, so you don't have to make me good food anymore? Okay, well, if you're not going to make me any good food anymore, if you're not going to do your job, then what? There's no point for you to survive. There's no point for you to stay alive." And Hu Zhe pulled out his sword and wanted to kill the chef. Like I said, he was under a lot of stress. Not excusing it, but he was under a lot of stress and he was sick, not feeling good. So his temper just got the better of him. So he pulled out his sword and was going to kill the chef. And his wife quickly stepped in and told him to put the sword away. And his wife was like, "Honey, honey, honey, George has been with us." Okay, his name wasn't really George, but his name was never recorded, so I have to give him a name. So, honey, George, it's George. Come on, come on. George has been with us for 30 years. Come on, like if everyone's going to mess up once in a while, right? So so what? If the fish stew is not as good as you remember, like. No, maybe George made the mistake. It's okay. It's okay. No, don't kill him. He's been with us for 30 years for crying out loud. I mean, I'm just translating what she said into more understandable modern dialect. I'm pretty sure she put it in some more flowery, poetic way. But anyway, Hu Zhe put away his sword and said, "Yeah, okay, fine, you're right," and then told the chef to get the hell out of his sight. To him, to General Hu Zhe, this was nothing. This was just a small incident. Like, okay, I lost my temper. I yelled at him. Yeah, okay, I pulled out my sword, but I didn't do anything. Forget it. To him, it's something trivial. But the chef did not think of it that way. When George went back to the kitchen, the more he thought about what just happened, the more he was sad, worried, and angry. What the hell? I served your family for 30 years, and this wasn't even my fault. Your own godforsaken taste buds not working because you got a cold. And you blame me? You want to kill me? Like, seriously. So the more George thought about it, the more he thought, well, I can't go through this again. Like, maybe next time he will kill me. Maybe tomorrow I make him breakfast and he something's wrong with his taste bud and he's going to kill me. Well, hell, if that's the case, then I might as well do him in first. So that very night, the chef, George, snuck out of the city and surrendered to the opposing army. And he not only surrendered, he led the opposing army to the only weak spot that he knew that the city had. He betrayed the city, he gave out the city's defensive positions, where the sentries were, all that information, and he led the opposing force into the city. And on that very same night, the night after uh, General Hu Zhe lost his temper with the chef, That very same night, the city that he guarded so well for months and months on end fell into enemy hand. His entire family was slaughtered. A lot of people died. And worse than that, our last general of the Tang Dynasty, General Hu Ze, big, strong warrior, big, strong hero, he was captured by the enemy forces, and they sentenced him to ride the wooden horse. Now, a lot of you that don't know what the wooden horse is, I don't want to go into too many graphic details because it is very cruel. It's disgusting, okay? Wooden horse is a kind of sentencing, a kind of death penalty in Chinese history, traditionally given out to women that were uh, committed adultery, women that were sentenced to die because of a sex-related crime were sentenced to ride the wooden horse. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Yeah, okay, it's a big wooden rocking horse. Um, and on the back, where your butt would go, there is a big triangular wedge uh, that's kind of sharp on the top. So imagine the back of the wooden horse look like a pyramid, and they strip you naked and sit you down on that, and then they take that wooden horse and make it move across the city. And every time that wooden horse move, that wedge is going into your body. Yeah, okay, okay, I'm going to stop there. You can just use your imagination. What happened to a person after that? Like, imagine yourself, right? Like, let's say you're 120 pounds. They tie you up, sit you down on that wedge on top of a rocking horse, and then they walk that rocking horse across the entire city. Yeah, so every time that horse move, your whole body weight is driving yourself down on that wedge. That's how Hu Zhe, General Hu Zhe, died in the end. They sentenced him to ride the rocking horse. It's got to be the most humiliating and painful, slow way for a hero to die. And all because he pissed off his chef. The next story I'm going to tell you also has something to do with another general, although in this case, this general wasn't so much a hero, but he was more like a villain, but a super, super badass one at that. We're going back to the Wei dynasty, and there was a general called Gao Chen. Now, General Gao Chen, like I said, he wasn't a very good guy. He was definitely no hero. Uh, but he was badass. Not in a good way. He was like badass in the evil way. How badass was he? Well, let's put it this way. In most dynasties, in most kingdoms, the emperor were the emperors were the highest authority. The emperors were someone that everybody afraid of them. You didn't want to piss off the emperor. We talked about that before in many episodes where you offend the emperors and they chop off your head. Yeah, that's what the emperors did. Well, in the case of General Gaochen, the emperor was afraid of him. How much was the emperor afraid of him? Well, let me give you a couple of examples. There was one time when the emperor was out hunting, and as you know, when emperors go hunting, they have like a huge crowd of entourage with them, and among them were General Gao Chen and his own escort and soldiers. Every time the emperor started to lag behind, there would be someone from the general's own regiment come up to the emperor and say, "Your Majesty, you better hurry up. If you are too slow, the general is going to be unhappy with you." And then the emperor would, "Oh, okay, okay," and then the emperor would speed out and try to catch up to the general. There was one time when on at the emperor's own birthday party, the General Gao Chen played a trick on the emperor. He held out his drink and said he wanted to toast the emperor to wish him good health. And obviously, the emperor was happy, and so he said, "Well, okay, let's drink to that." And so he grabbed his glass and downed his drink, and the general didn't even touch his drink. Like, I don't know if you guys know that, like, in Chinese culture, especially, if you toast somebody and then you don't drink, it's a really big insult. It's like it's like a serious no-no. Okay, you don't do that even to friends. Like doing that to an emperor was unheard of. So when the emperor saw that, he was so angry that he actually started crying, and stomped his foot down on the floor. He said, "If you don't show me any respect, right? What good am I as the emperor? How can I lead the country when you are so disrespectful to me?" And because the emperor said that, Gao Chen ordered his soldier to go, teach him a lesson. And his soldier went up to the throne, dragged the emperor off the throne, and beat the crap out of him. After he went home and sobered up, uh, next day, Gao Chen himself kind of thought, well, I think I overdid it. I think maybe that was a little bit too much. So he went into the palace to see the emperor. He said, "Hey, hey, sorry about last night. I had too much to drink. That was my bad. Sorry." And the emperor didn't even dare to punish him. The emperor had to smile and like, it's okay, it's fine, it's behind us now. Let's forget it. And the emperor didn't dare do anything to him. That's how badass Gaochen was as a general. Like he was able to bully the emperor himself. And this emperor of the Wei dynasty was not someone like a weak-minded emperor either. If we look throughout history in our history books, this emperor in question was an emperor that led people from the front in battle. He was an emperor that was good at art and poetry and music and new martial art, and he was a very well accomplished warrior and scholar. And yet, Gao Chen, the general, was able to bully him at every step of the way without suffering any consequences. So some people may be thinking that does not make sense, right? Like if I was the emperor and you disrespect me like that and you bully me like that, I would just order my people to go and chop off your head like all the other emperors would do, right? How come this emperor put up with it? There were two reasons. Right? Reason number one, because Gao Chen was a really good general, and he was basically the guy that was defending the country. So if this guy is the only guy that is holding off the enemy forces and protecting your country, you do not want to chop his head off. So you kind of have to take crap from him because there's nothing you can do to him. Number two, Gao Chen was so influential, he had so much authority that the emperor wasn't sure if his people would listen to him if he say, "Hey, take him outside and chop off his head." You don't know that, right? Like if this guy is so powerful and so have so much authority, how do you know that when you say, "Go chop off his head," your people not going to say, "Oh, sorry, Your Majesty, he's paying us better. Well, we'll chop off your head instead." You don't know that. So that those were the two reasons why Gao Chen was able to bully the emperor in such a fashion. Now, Gao Chen had a chef. working for him. This chef name was Lan Jin. Um, and this chef went to the general one day and begged the general if he can have some days off so he could go home to see his dad. Rather than approving the holiday, Gao Chen was in a really bad mood that day, so he ordered to have Lan Jin whipped at the post and told him never dare to speak about holiday to me again. Well, that pissed the chef off so badly. So next time that Gao Chen, this badass general that even the emperor was scared of him, the next time when Gao Chen was drunk and was uh, yelling for his dinner to be served, Lan Jin, the chef, and five of his chef assistants came out from the kitchen with kitchen knives and killed him right there at the table. Yeah, super badass general that bullied the emperor died at the hand of a chef and his assistant because he pissed off the chef. The last story I'll tell you also involved a chef having his revenge, although in this case the chef did not kill his master, but it does show us that if you piss off your chef, they even if they don't get you while you are alive, they're going to get you after you're dead. Now, this one happened to the emperor, one of the emperors of the Liao Empire. Liao Empire, for those of you who don't know your Chinese history, was a empire built by the northern barbarians. I guess it's one of the northern tribes during the Song Dynasty, and the Khitan tribe invaded China and took a lot of land, and they called themselves the Liao Empire. Uh, so they had an emperor that was again really good warrior. Uh, Took a lot of land, captured a lot of territories. But while he was out in the battlefield, he got really sick. So when his mom, back at the imperial city, heard that the emperor was really sick and probably going to die, she ordered that even if he died, she wanted his corpse to be brought back so she could see him one last time. Well, long story short, he died. Um, but because he was so far away from home, and back then there's like no embalming technology or refrigeration, trying to get his body home what became a problem. So his generals and ministers were trying to figure out, okay, so the emperor's mom wanted us to bring the corpse home so she could see him one last time. But by the time we get there, he's going to be like decayed. He's going to be rotting and disgusting. How are we going to do this? And that's when his own royal chef said, "Don't worry, I got an idea. Let me just give his corpse to me and I'll do it." When the emperor was alive, he was extremely bad-tempered and really mistreated the chef. Historically, we don't know the name of the chef. We only know that his family name, his last name was Zhang. So Chef Zhang uh, took the emperor's corpse, cut out all the intestines and all the organs, and fed them to the dogs in the back alley. And he basically smoked the emperor's corpse and turned him into like a human-sized bacon. And that's what they brought back for the emperor's mom. There's a really old word called Di Ba in Chinese language. Di Ba. Di means emperor. Ba means crispy. So this is Di Ba means emperor crispy. Uh, and that was invented by this royal chef. He was so pissed off at the emperor that he basically desecrated his body by digging out his inner organs, everything, fed them to the dogs, and then he turned the remaining of his body to a crispy human-sized bacon. So those three stories today basically again remind us be courteous to whoever's serving us. Be courteous to people around us because if people are pissed off at you, especially if they're handling your food or they are close to you, you just never know who is going to suddenly stab you in the back. Obviously, hopefully, nothing so drastic is going to happen to any of us today, but it's still a good practice to be courteous and nice to people around us. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. We'll be back again tomorrow for Toy Thursday. For now, 谢谢 and 再见。